Coach, I know you've coached in a lot of different leagues, been around the country. First time through the SEC, I know you've maybe caught it on kind of an up year, but what's your impression of just the league, the talent, the coaching, the level of play here?
Yeah, I would say from, I've been in the ACC, I was in the Pac-12, I've been in the Big East as well, and I mean this year in the SEC has been as good as any that I've ever been a part of. When you talk about first off the coaches, there's some high-level, highly respected coaches in this league, guys that do a really good job. The talent, it's high-end talent. The style of play, the physicality, all of that make this league really, really special, and one of the best leagues, if not the best league, in all of college basketball.
When you guys watch the Arkansas tape, are you more encouraged by what you're able to do in the first half, or more worried about what you weren't able to do in the second half? Yeah,
it's a good question. I felt like for probably about 32 minutes of that game, we played at a really high level, and that last 8 minutes, for whatever reason, and again, you credit to Arkansas. Man, they kept competing, they kept fighting. I think we did give them some opportunities with some turnovers, but they kept coming. That's a good basketball team, and arguably one of the best in the league. And so we knew they weren't going to roll over. We know they weren't going to stop fighting. But yeah, we were very encouraged by, I would say, 32 minutes of that game, and with the last 8, we saw some areas and were able to get some good film of where we need to be better and where we need to improve.
Coach Barnes talked the other day about how important it is for a team to know what goes into winning, but also what goes into losing. What's the line between talking about both sides of that and coaching that into players?
Yeah, I think, and Coach is absolutely right on that. There is a fine line, and I think with our group, though, we have a mature, older group of guys that can balance both sides of that coin. And so with our group, we don't feel any type of hesitation about talking about both sides of it because of the strong leadership we have. For the guys that have been in the fire and been through the battles, and they know, like it's real. Because I think with these guys, I mean, you got to be 100% real with them, because they see through the fake. We're dealing with some smart young men, and it's not like back when I played when, whatever coach said, I ran with. Now guys can look stuff up, and if I tell them, this guy is a dead-eye shooter and he's only shooting 20% from three, like they're going to go look at the clips and they're going to do their own research. And so I think being completely honest with them and talking about both sides is key. And you got to trust that you have a mature enough group, which we do, to be able to handle it and absorb it and take it in, and be able to execute the game plan and do what's needed to be done to not only win the game, but also to become a better team and to continue to improve each game and each time out.
Obviously, everything gets condensed now. How challenging does the scouting report get when you don't know exactly who your opponent is and everything is one day at a time?
Yeah, those are that's what, say those early season tournaments kind of prepare you for. It prepares the team and also the coaching staff on really what we need to really focus in on and which points are really important. And so with this condensed schedule, with that tournament style feel, SEC tournament will be a little different because we're playing guys we've already played before and teams that we watch on a regular. I think as you look ahead to the NCAA tournament, it gets a little different because these are teams might not even be in the same region that you're coming from, and so scouting gets a little different, gets a little tricky. But we have a great staff, we have a big staff, and so we have an all hands on deck mentality, and we'll have everybody from our managers to GAs, whether it's gathering stats, whether it's looking at film, whether it's all those guys will be able to have some input and help us prepare a presentation for the guys that, one, that makes sense to them and is not too much information, and one that's, that gets directly to the point on what's important as far as, trying to get a victory. But I would say for the SEC tournament, it'll be tricky, but we're facing teams we're all familiar with, and everybody's familiar with each other.
Coach, against Arkansas, the first half, Tennessee had a 19-13 rebound edge. Second half, Arkansas 24-14. What was the difference on tape? What did you see as the difference in the rebounding?
Yeah, I think for Arkansas, it started that last 4 minutes of the game when they brought in Kamani Johnson, I think was his name, number 20. And I felt like he came in with a certain energy level, a certain level of activity. And, to end that half, we didn't get a body on him for whatever reason. And I think that gave him confidence going into the second half. And his role kind of increased that second half, and his activity continued. And then I think Wade kind of chipped in, and then some long rebounds came out. And so, I would attribute it to, us not boxing out, really. Us not boxing out, and then in some circumstances, not pursuing the ball. And we that's something we harp on. We talk a lot about rebounding the basketball, and so he's different because he is smaller, but he's a lot more slippery, and he's really active. And we didn't do a good job of hitting him.
Brian, then Ethan. Where are you seeing Jonas grow the most since getting here, and what's kind of the next step for him?
I think with Jonas, the biggest growth has come with physically, with his body. He's a kid that wasn't highly recruited in high school, had a prep year, and saw his whole recruitment change. Up until he got here in the summer, had never consistently competed against anybody his size, and that was new to him. Our strength and conditioning program was like totally new to him, and having to play in the paint for long stretches was new because he's kind of a hybrid stretch five type of guy. So, all of that with his frame, he came in, I want to say he was around like 200, 205, maybe a little heavier than that, maybe 215. But anyway, he was lighter, and so there's a lot of things happening with his body. And so the biggest adjustment I've seen is from a physical standpoint, he's gotten himself in a lot better shape, and he's a lot stronger. And he had a stretch early on where he was taking strides, and then he, got sick and had a knee issue and all that stuff, and it kind of set him back. And right now, I think we're seeing a kid that, he's adjusted to the college game, and he's put on some weight, and he's understands how physical the game is, and he's, making that adjustment. And I don't think he's anywhere near where he will end up. I think he's got a lot of growth. But and so he's just scratching the surface, but he's a willing learner, and he works really hard, and so it's exciting. It's really exciting to see because he brings a different dynamic to our defense, especially.
Yeah, you mentioned the older guys earlier. How do you think the younger guys will fare going into an environment they've never really been in?
As far as the tournament goes, yeah, you never know, right? You never know because. This is their first SEC tournament. You would hope that the Mohegan Sun event kind of gave them a little feel of what it feels like to play back-to-back games. And in this situation, we're hoping to go back-to-back-to-back. And but that's where we rely on the older guys to talk to them. And, we'll prepare them as much as we can. And Coach Barnes will have a plan in place to make sure everybody is prepared, and through conversations and practice and video, I think they'll understand the magnitude of it. But it's totally different when you step foot on that court, and so that's when, again, with our older guys, they'll be able to lean on them, and they're good players. Like it won't take long for them to say, okay, this is a normal game now, and so. But up until that point, we'll do everything we can to prepare them for it and to make sure You know, we've talked them through it, and they kind of understand what's at stake here and what's going on.
Go to Mike, Jack, and Rob.
Rick has talked a lot about Kennedy having a really long wingspan. How have you seen him learn to use that throughout the season defensively, and how does that impact what opponents are able to do offensively at the top?
Yeah, no, he does. He, you know, he has a really long wingspan, and I would say he uses it to impact the defense. I mean, he can take certain, you know, certain risk, I would say, reaching, hands in passing lanes. I know earlier in the season he was getting like blocks from behind. You know, all of those things impact our defense. And you know, for him, we like to pressure the ball because of his length. He doesn't have to be as close to pressure the ball because, you know, he got active hands and he's long. And, you know, I think it makes it tougher for, you know, guys to go by him. And he's able to keep guys in front of him a little bit better. But, no, it does help. And having him at the head of your defense, being able to disrupt and be disruptive and make entry passes tough and initiating offense tough is always a good thing.
Talked about the growth of Jonas. What about Brandon? What have you seen from him as the season has progressed?
Yeah, you know, it's been a fun process with him as well, you know, because I would say from a physical standpoint for him, he probably wasn't, and you'd ask him, in the best shape that, you know, he probably could have been in. And I don't know if the college game was, I don't know if he thought it would be as hard as it is, you know, and not just the games, but just the day-to-day grind of what it takes to be really good. And, you know, he continues to work. And the thing I love about Brandon is he wants to be great. He wants to be great, and he's going to work and absorb everything you say to him and then try to do it, you know, and try to execute it. And so, you know, for him, I think what we're seeing now is the work that he's put in from the beginning, and it's finally getting to the point where it's all coming together for him. And you know, there are some things where, you know, he needs to be better, as all of us do. But I've seen the biggest growth with him in his intensity level and his concentration on preparation for games and how serious he takes scouting reports. You know, like I would say early on, he wouldn't be as serious as he is now. You see him now, he's asking questions to the scouting coach about, you know, whoever he's guarding, going left, going right, what does he like to do when he gets here, and what are some things I need to watch out for? And those are all things that, you know, mature players and guys that start to figure it out, those are questions they start to ask. And so it's fun to see his progress.
Coach, you guys finished second in a really good league. You're probably going to be at least a 3 seed in the tournament, and you've done it all with 2 freshmen being your primary point guards.
Right.
You played this position at a high level. Just how unique is that? How much do those guys have on their shoulders as first-year players?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, and you know, I can sympathize with them. I guess, you know, sympathize, but I can relate to them because of, you know, my path was similar, you know, and I think like them, I had older guys to help me, and you know, I think Kennedy and Zakai would be the first to tell you they wouldn't have had the success they've had without the help of Santi, without the help of Josiah, without the help of VJ, those older guys around them, kind of just coaching them up, helping them through, and, you know, taking some pressure off of them at times. But both of those two guys, Zakai and Kennedy, those guys are talented. They're really talented young men, and they possess some elite skills from a basketball standpoint, but they have a resolve, a confidence, a toughness about them that allows them to be able to thrive, compete and thrive in this SEC, because there's been plenty of nights both guys, like, you know, hasn't gotten the best out of their matchup, right? And they don't hang their head. They don't question whether they're good enough. They just keep working and you know, and rely on coach and coaches and their teammates to kind of help guide them through. But both of those guys are super talented. And that, with the assistance of the older guys, has allowed them, I think, to do what they do and run the point guard position for our team at a high level.
I don't know if you heard this or not, but Jordan Gainey was named the Big South Freshman of the Year.
I didn't know that.
What were your thoughts, reaction to hearing that news?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. You know, it was awesome. And, you know, as a dad, as his former trainer, workout guy, or whatever you wanted to, you know, it's, you know, it was great to see, you know. And I know he was excited about it, but I think I might have been the most excited just to kind of see his progress through the year. And not only that, but just kind of where he came from, you know, and how it all started, where, you know, he's leaving high school and didn't have a Division I offer. And him believing in himself and not wanting to walk on wherever I went to school. He said, Dad, I want to play, you know. And so he went to prep school and had a great prep season, but it was COVID, and, you know, nobody really got to see him other than video. And then Upstate took a chance on him. And just to kind of see that whole progression, it makes me proud of him and his resolve and his toughness, and I mean, just love for the game. And you know, I just, it makes me feel good. You know, it does. It really does.
Do you still watch every one of his games?
I do. I do. After, you know, after, you know, finish our tape and all of that, I'll pop his games in and check it out. And I try to be dad and not coach, and, you know, kind of hit him on the mental side of things. But when he asks me a question, I'm ready to kind of give him my input on it. That's for sure.
Coach, thank you very much.
No, thank you. And Coach Barnes won't let me live down that he only had 2 points when he came here, too. So.